Irus is a centrally controlled energy management system for multi-occupancy dwellings, such as student accommodation. It comprises a master interface unit situated in or close to the comms room, and secondary interface units situated in designated electrical riser cupboards around the site. Each room requires a control unit, a power unit, a key-switched fuse spur, and the heat source, electric heaters or wet radiators. If wet radiators are installed, a valve actuator is also needed. The master interface unit sends and receives information and instructions via the secondary interface units to and from each room, using the site's existing electrical wiring. This is known as mains-borne signalling. Equipment connected to the electrical circuit in the building places a tiny signal on the earth and neutral wiring. Tones are transmitted along the wires. These are like two very high-frequency musical notes. A receiver on the circuit detects these tones and decodes them into the ones and zeros that make up digital communication. The same principles apply if Irus is connected to water heating control, leak detection, hop sensors, or any other Irus product. Energy managers view the Irus portal via the internet and can monitor individual rooms and hot water tanks. Profiles can be set, temperatures and times adjusted, and alerts are sent about unusual environmental conditions such as water leaks and CO2, humidity, light and decibel levels without having to enter the room. This is how Irus is configured. The secure portal displays the data collected by the master interface unit. The master interface unit uses either the site's existing data network or Cat5 cable to send and receive data from the secondary interface units, which in turn communicate with the room's control unit using mains-borne signalling. The control unit controls the heat source in the room through a power unit. Modules within the control unit monitor the room's environmental conditions. Data collected by the control unit is transferred back to the master interface unit in the same way but in the opposite direction. To ensure reliable communications throughout the system, it is essential that wiring is firmly connected at all terminals. Particular attention must be paid to the consistency of the earth line. There are separate videos explaining how to install electric heating, wet heating, hot water control, and leak detection sensors. All wiring should be carried out by a competent electrician working in accordance with current regulations. Identify the appropriate power supply and perform procedures to ensure the circuits are completely isolated. The supply should be locked in the off position, and safe working practices should always be observed. These are the Irus components required in each room to control a wet heating system. We presume a radiator with appropriate valve body is already fitted. The control unit has a screen, a PIR motion sensor, and up and down buttons that occupants use to control temperatures. These buttons also enable you to find the control unit serial number and test the valve actuator, and therefore the radiator. The Pur Power Unit provides the control unit with separated extra low voltage, or SELV, and a 1 amp silent switching capacity. It has a red active LED that lights when the valve actuator has been instructed to open the radiator valve, and a green power LED to show that power is reaching the unit. The key-switched fuse spur is used to isolate the valve actuator, Pur Power Unit, and control unit for maintenance or replacement of components. If Prefect Controls have supplied the key-switched fuse spur, it will have a 13 amp fuse as standard. Check that the key-switched fuse spur you have used has an appropriately rated fuse for use with the valve actuator. The key prevents unauthorized disconnection of the circuit and ensures the system is powered and providing room data 24 hours a day, 365 days per year, so please make sure it is not left in the room. The valve actuator should be a 230 volt AC normally closed product. We will have recommended an actuator appropriate for the site at which you are working. The dimension of the control unit and the key switch fuse spur is 85 mm square. They are a standard single gangplate size and require a 25 mm deep surface pattress, dry lining plastic box, or metal sunken box, with 2 mounting points. If they have 4 lugs, remove the top and bottom ones. The power unit dimensions are 146mm by 85mm, and it is a standard double gangplate size. It requires a 35mm deep surface pattress, dry lining plastic box, or metal sunken box, with 2 mounting points. The positioning of the control unit will dramatically affect performance. Position it centrally in the main body of the room, avoiding narrow entrance lobbies. Appliances that generate heat should not be in proximity of the controller. For example, televisions, desktop computers, fridges, or ventilation systems. Position the control away from any non-ambient airflow, hot or cold. The control unit should be installed at least 300mm away from the nearest edge of the radiator, and mounted at around chest height. 1.2 to 1.4 meters from the finished floor level, and should be easily accessible for operation. Consideration should be made for rooms used by people with disabilities. Installation at 900mm from the floor and 500mm from the radiator ensures people using wheelchairs can access the controller. Avoid positioning close to a window, and keep the installation away from curtains, blinds, coat hooks or room dividers that can hinder airflow. The PIR monitors an angle of 58 degrees from the sensor. The area is 5 meters wide at a 4.5 meter distance. Please bear this in mind, making sure the sensor has a clear view of the room, without obstructions or the potential to be covered. The power unit should be installed close enough to the radiator to connect the 600mm flex from the valve actuator. Wiring. There are 4 products used in this installation: the control unit, the power unit, the valve actuator, and a double pole isolator. A key switch fuse spur should be used. The control unit is an electrostatic sensitive device, and therefore care should be taken not to touch the printed circuit board. Thread the valve actuator onto the radiator valve body. Connect the live and neutral wires from the valve actuator to the load side live and neutral terminals on the PUR power unit. Using 3-core cable, connect the other live terminal on the PUR power unit to the load side live out terminal on the isolator, and the other neutral terminal on the PUR power unit to the load side neutral on the isolator. Insert the load earth wire from the isolator into the earth terminal on the PUR power unit. Using standard 6-core low voltage alarm cable, connect the control unit to the power unit, ensuring the coloured wires going to the terminals match. White wire from terminal 1 on the control unit to terminal 1 on the PUR power unit, blue terminal 2 to 2, green 3, yellow 4, black 5 and red 6. The length of the data cable should not exceed 6 meters. Do not use a solid core data cable. Ensure all terminals are secure, but do not over-tighten. Connect the supply live, neutral and earth mains to the supply side live, neutral and earth on the isolator. To power up the valve actuator, press and hold the up button on the control unit, and then press the down button 3 times in quick succession. This puts the control unit into test mode. Press the down button 1 more time to enter test mode L2. This will start to open the valve actuator. After approximately 3 minutes, the head will have risen. Unclip the red locking mechanism from the top of the valve actuator. After 3 minutes, the control unit will return to standard operation. Wait for the actuator to close the radiator valve. When the control units have been installed, the master interface unit needs to identify each of their locations: the block, the floor, and the room number. This we call addressing the room. It is essential that this is done accurately, so we know that we are controlling the correct room. A location list will have been drawn up prior to installation. What we need from you is the serial number of each control unit and which room it is in. Each control unit has a 5-digit serial number. To find this, press and hold the down button, and then press the up button 3 times in quick succession. The serial number will appear on the screen. Do not confuse this with the manufacturing number that is printed on a label on the back of the unit. The number on the screen is what we need to assign to a room, so we can begin our commissioning process. You should log the serial numbers on an Excel spreadsheet. We can provide you with a template for this if required. It cannot be stressed enough how important it is that this information is recorded accurately. Any mistakes or omissions will result in a callback to rooms that have been incorrectly logged. Leaving the room. If you are working on a project where rooms are occupied, please ensure that when you are finished you don't leave anything behind and the room is left as you found it.